because rejection is something we all feel sometimes, we all experience sometimes. It is awful. Hey, welcome. It's Dr. Jodi here. I go live every Monday around 11 o'clock Eastern. And today we're going to talk about how to deal with rejection. Because rejection is something we all feel sometimes, we all experience sometimes. It is awful. We feel awful about when we experience somebody rejecting us. And that's because humans are social beings. So throughout history, in our evolution, as we were becoming humans, we needed community around us to survive. And any rejection from that community meant sure death. We couldn't survive without the group. And so rejection is a huge devastation because it meant you died. Now in modern times, when one person rejects you, it does not mean that you have to die. But biologically, we tend to feel that. We feel that that might happen, and that's very scary, like at the cellular level. Cognitively, we know that we're not going to die if someone rejects us, but we do have that feeling biologically. And so when we have that feeling biologically in there, inside ourselves, inside our souls even, it creates a lot of fear. And sometimes it's not proportional to our experience with the rejection. Sometimes it is, though, because this person is so important to us. So on top of that biological feeling, when you feel rejected, we also have this emotional attachment to this person. And so fear comes up because we're afraid, how am I going to survive without this relationship, without this emotional support? And also, we tend to come in with a lot of negative self-judgments as if it's our problem that that person rejected us. And sometimes we participate, okay? We participate in relationships. So sometimes it is our contribution or our actions in that relationship that cause that person to leave. But wow, we could go really, it's so hard because when you're rejected, there's so many different contexts of that relationship, and there's so many different things to learn and understand about what's going on. But I wanted to address dealing with rejection in a general sense in this video, because there's so many different scenarios, and we're going to include as many of understandings of those as we can. So again, I'm Dr. Jodi. I've been a psychotherapist for almost 30 years. So I know people, I know problems. Rejection is a problem that so many people experience. So we have to learn how to deal with rejection so we know how to function in this world, because we are going to get rejected sometimes. And maybe you're watching this video because it happened to you really recently. We're going to talk about 3 actions that you're going to take when you experience rejection in order to reclaim your life and reclaim your ability to function. Because sometimes rejection has us pushed down so harshly that it is hard to function, isn't it? All right. So the first thing I want you to do when you feel rejected by somebody, and this could be a romantic relationship, it could be a friendship, it could be someone from your family, or it could be you were rejected from a job. I mean, there's so many different places that we get rejected from in this world. And if we thought we were going to die with each of those rejections, it's going to affect us bigger than just the rejection, isn't it? First thing I want you to do is have some compassion for yourself. This is something that goes way down to the core of our being. You're not weird. You're not overreacting. You're not weak because you're experiencing emotions because of this rejection. It is real. And you are allowed to feel that. So I want you to have some compassion for yourself for feeling that. When we think that we're overreacting, or we think that we should be above this, or we think that we shouldn't feel this bad, it makes us feel worse because we attach to that feeling. So the more we judge ourselves, the more we end up attaching to the feeling and feeling worse and doubling down. Not only are we rejected, we're rejecting ourselves too. We're invalidating ourselves. We feel worse and worse and worse. Rejection is an invalidation of us. So when we go and invalidate ourselves on top of that, we're going to feel worse and we're going to attach. Then we have to kind of defend ourselves. And then there's this conflict in us that it's our fault, but no, it's not our fault. It's our fault. All of these things are distractions from healing. But if you give yourself some compassion, it allows you to have validation for your value as a person. And when you have that validation for your value as a person, you don't attach to that feeling. That doesn't mean you don't feel it anymore. You feel it because it's a regular feeling. You're allowing yourself to feel it, but then you could process that feeling and come out the other side. When you attach to it, you get stuck in it and it multiplies and it snowballs. So have compassion for yourself. That's one. The second thing I want you to do is take a step back and look at the context of that rejection. When you have compassion for yourself and you're not attached to that invalidation, validation, conflict within you, you're able to take a step back and look at the situation from a big picture view. Some people call it zoom out or take a psychic step back. It's so amazing because you could see the context. You could see all the players, why they did what they did, and what is the bigger understanding. When you're so caught in that blame game and that, attachment to those feelings, you're not able to do that. So you need to have that compassion first. Take that step back, look at the context of the situation. What is happening? Why it might have happened? What are some of your guesses? You want to brainstorm here because you don't have the answers, though that perspective helps you see things that you wouldn't be able to see if you're too close to it. If you're wrapped up in the feelings and the intensity of the emotions and you're scared about the intensity of emotions and you're fighting the emotions and trying to run away from the emotions, that's all attachment. When you take that step back, you get understandings that you didn't have in that situation. And that's really helpful to you. And also, you don't know everything for sure still. You don't really understand. You don't know for sure stuff. You're also guessing on some of the meanings. You might be able to understand where other people are coming from a little bit better from that perspective, but you're not sure because you don't know. Maybe you'll ask them. I don't know. But you want to brainstorm this situation. But because you have distance from the emotions, you're able to do that and you're able to get good perspective. So you're looking at the context, and then you're able to do the third step, which is take some action. Look at the control that you do have in this situation. So it might be just giving yourself compassion. That might be the only action you really need to take here. There's nothing to do. Allow yourself to feel, spend time with people who do like you. So you feel adjusted, you reclaim that understanding of yourself as a valued person after that rejection. You want to surround yourself with people who love you, who lift you up, who care about you, who would contribute to validating you even more. Maybe listen to you talking about that relationship and tell you how wonderful you are. That is awesome. Like having a friend to listen to you. Maybe that's the action step. Maybe it is reaching out to this person, or maybe it is creating a different opportunity for yourself because that opportunity didn't work out. So there's so many actions that you could take, but without that validating yourself in the beginning, that compassion, and without that looking at the context and really understanding the situation so you're not caught up in all the negative self-judgment and just lost in that negative self-judgment, then you're able to take some kind of action. And when you're able to take some kind of action, you repair relationships, you build other relationships, you create other opportunities for yourself. And that's a way you could start going forward and not staying stuck. That doesn't mean you won't grieve. You're still going to grieve. And don't be afraid of grieving, because if you're allowing yourself to grieve, you're not attaching to the grief. And so you're not judging yourself, you're not blaming yourself, you're not beating yourself up and getting lost in those intense emotions. You're just allowing yourself to grieve and having lots of compassion for yourself. And it's not so hard. The suffering is when you're creating all these stories about yourself that's beating yourself up and attaching to things. That's where the majority of suffering comes from Grief in and of itself, definitely totally suffering, but it's not as intense and it's not as long. It's human, it's regular, it feels awful, but we come out of it. It's not like we're not changed forever and the core from what happened, but we're different, but we're also okay, if that makes sense. You're okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be able to move forward in your life. You don't have to be stuck. So I hope that really helps you learn how to deal with rejection. Rejection is going to come in our life. It may have nothing to do with you, and it may have nothing to do with your worth. So don't jump to those conclusions right away, because that is going to get you stuck in that self-blame. And then you're going to think, like, instead of trying to go to new opportunities, you're going to think, well, what's the use? I always get rejected, or what's the use? It's not going to work out for me anyway. And then you're not going to make any effort. But if you do these 3 action steps when you're dealing with rejection, it doesn't affect your future actions and your future ability to reconnect or create opportunities for yourself, or perhaps or be in situations where you wouldn't be rejected. Find the right people that are right for you. If you're beating yourself up, you're going to continue to attract people that are not the best for you. And sometimes when people reject you, you've dodged a bullet there. They're not really for you, and there weren't somebody who lifts you up and is good for you in your life. And you want to find the person who is. So I hope that serves you today. Thank you so much for watching and being with me. And so I have a lot coming at you. You have seen that I'm posting a lot of videos of my podcast, which is called Anxiety. I'm So Done With You, with me, Dr. Jodi. But anyway, subscribe. Come on over to my website if you want more from me, 𝐿𝕠𝕕𝕚𝐻.com. I have more articles and videos on how to embrace yourself, love yourself, release fear, and be that person that you want to be. So I'll see you in the next video. But until then, be present and let that you want to be shine through.